Welcome back, guys, to the SSL Premier League here at the Nexon Arena. We have two more best of threes coming your way. First one is going to be a PvP between Stats and Patience.
That it is. Stats, the defending GSL champion. So far, though, underwhelming in SSL. The bottom side of things with Zest and SOS has outperformed them, but he is definitely not doing as well as you would have expected. He's 7-7 in games played, but overall 2-3 in match status. So he is sitting at number 6, or was, of course, before today's matches. There'll be a bit of a shuffle after today's results.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to be 7-7, but on the losing side of that, in terms of series, is at 2-3. The Patience, he's up at second place,
Yes.
keeping that second place, as Solar did lose to Biel.
And if you guys want to check him out, he streams at night.
Yeah, streams at night, so come at night if you want to see Korean time. He made the distinction, so make sure you guys go into that. One of the best Protoss players currently, at least here at SSL.
That's right. Number 2 in the rankings. Very impressive play. You know, some characters have plot armor. They say it cannot be killed off because they're part of the main story, but it feels like Patience has SSL armor. He does so well in these tournaments. He hasn't had a finals yet, but he's been so close. 2 semis.
It's all part of the script. You know, Patience has to stick around. And Belcher Vestige is going to be the first map here. Let's jump into game number 1 right now.
Stats, Kim Patience, Cho Ji-hyun.
We are Belcher Vestige, Fly Better Fly, Jin Air. Thanks for sponsoring this tournament. The whole SSL series, thanks to them. Down here in the bottom right, it is Stats, the red Protoss.
And his opponent to the top left, it is Patience. Currently really high up in the rankings, number 2. And we'll see if this is going to be a longer process versus Protoss. I have to imagine it will be because, you know, yes, the last series went to game 3, but it was kind of it was not the finesse, it was not the mid to late game we were hoping to see. I think this is the map, or the matchup, not necessarily the map, that we might see disruptors come out. You know, we're starting this off on Belcher, but then we're going to Frost, so a little large map and then Whirlwind. So we're going to see definitely a longer PvP here.
Yeah.
At least one of these should go to late game.
It's kind of crazy. I almost forgot that Frost was in the map pool because no one seems to pick it. But the only other player that actually had it in their map list was Zest, who picked it 3rd. But actually, Patience picked it 1st. So he really wants to play on that map, and because of his first pick of Frost, it does get the 2nd spot of the maps of this best of 3 for game 2.
Yeah, if you first pick a map, you're going to get it guaranteed in a best of 3. The 3rd map you can't always guarantee. You have to, you know, you have to go to a 3rd game for that to happen, but you must have something specific planned, so I'm sure that Stats has looked into that. Obviously, that's not this game, that's the next game. Focusing on Belcher, which is the smallest map of the maps we have in this pool. Going to be a double gate opening for both players. Not going to see any sort of tight wall hiding SOS shenanigans. Stats even going to check for proxies. And it looks to be just standard opening, as you expect between these two. You know, we knew the SOS Zest matchup was going to be crazy. This one is probably going to be a little bit more calm and technical in terms of attacking bases, pushes, hitting timing windows. Not going to be a game that's decided by tech differences. Not the PvP that's kind of a rock, paper, scissors feel to it.
By the way, that probe that was scouting earlier for Stats is still out on the map, just hanging around. And the cybernetics core has been finished for a while, and finally it does put down a pylon. So
I wonder if he'll hide a late dark shrine. He's definitely going to hide something since the probe is staying there. Interesting. Yeah,
I mean, he's pumping out warp gate research. He could drop down another gateway the second that finishes too if he just wants to get aggressive, and there it is. Okay. It's kind of far away as a warping point, but it's going to be very well hidden.
Yeah, there's no way that Patience will discover this. Shade's a bit too late to deny this Nexus, but either way, he probably wants it to be there. He wants him to commit to the Nexus. He wants to have this sort of economic build so he can hit it with a really strong attack. He's actually going to look to catch these Stalkers. This is huge, considering what we know is coming next. He's going to get the Stalker eventually. There's the Shade. And, okay, barely. Caster Curse.
Very, very close.
That's helpful with this follow-up attack that we're going to see here from Stats. Very fast. Probably just going to be heavy on the Stalkers, you have to imagine. See how he decides to do this. The Warp Gate research is finished. He starts a Nexus. Patience has that forward pylon to the left side, by the way, that we saw Adepts come in. That's what Zest used for some late-game or mid-game harass last game. 3 Stalkers coming in with this. Soon to be a 4th. You have to assume, once he has enough money for that 4th one. Not going to cancel this Nexus, actually.
Patience is doing the same thing, but later.
This money that's in the gateway is going to be sorely missed back at home. Here comes the first warp in. That Nexus is immediately canceled. Mothership Core very far away. And it looks like because of the quick reaction here from Patience, this is not going to be a kill for Stats, but he's definitely going to get a huge lead. He'll have his Nexus up back at home.
Mothership Core will keep him safe in here. He gets a full scout of the base, sees the Dark Shrine.
Robo comes up immediately. As it turns out, if you see the Dark Shrine coming, it's a lot less powerful. Even Sentries, just to be 100% sure, maybe he didn't see the exact timing of it. Maybe he was like, oh god, it could be finishing in any second.
Look at where Stats is going. He's going in the exact direction of that pylon in the gateway because he saw the Dark Shrine.
Yeah. Okay, here comes 4 Adepts. He's not gonna stop those until there's a quick warp. Look at this angle. He's even going to send Stalkers on the right side to spot 4 potential DTs. This is incredible defense from Stats. Wow.
Yeah, so far he's dominating the game. Gets over to the base of Patience, denies the Nexus.
He has sentries at the top of the ramp, don't forget, and already evacuated his probes. Only 1 probe killed in this exchange. And the Nexus is so late now, and he can't warp in DTs because he doesn't have a forward warp-in point. If he wants to slow walk them across the map, I suppose he could. This seems to be something that slipped under Stats' radar, so actually getting quite a few probe kills here. Stats missed that. He really desperately wants the DTs in. You know what? He might actually try for it. No, he can't. He's always going to maybe perhaps defend this pylon and the warp and the slow DTs, but not going to happen. He already saw the Robo, so he knew it would be futile. This is getting way too much damage on the main base, though. So much loss mining, 7 kills.
It's one of those small mistakes that you wouldn't see out of someone who's like really on form nowadays. I mean, you look at Stats, and right, he wins GSL. And how can you say that he's not on form? But he hasn't been doing so well so far in SSL. But I don't know, 8 probe kills is not bad for Patience. He was in a really dire spot, but now he's in a less dire of a spot.
No, significantly less dire. Still dire, though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the problem really for Patience is that he just traded a lot of units for that attack that got no value. He made an expensive Dark Shrine that didn't do anything. And he has the larger army as a result. And with this pylon being removed, we are going to see Stats use the Warp Prism to attack, but that's the whole story, right? You harass with units, you spend them for that. If you don't get the damage, the units, the economy of Stats is still going to be better. He's still going to have a lot more units being produced, and he has the larger army because he didn't lose his units defending your attack. So Stats in a position where he could just simply counterattack. The lack of glaives is a problem, but it almost feels like he has such a large lead and such a larger army that it's not even necessary for him to use that. He might even just be able to attack without it. He's going to replace this pylon.
Might as well. It's a pretty big map, Bilster Vestige, even though it is 2-player. It's going to be hard for Patience to reroute his entire army over there to try to kill the pylon again. We got this Warp Prism out on the map, but you can see that Patience is playing very defensively. Stuff in his main. He's got the Mothership Core back there. And this might be able to pick off some units and maybe some probes and get out. Actually, Patience, as I say, that is moving his units out of the main as the Warp Prism is flying in.
Yeah, I really thought this Warp Prism was going to be for the just frontal attack, but I think he wants to draw units back instead. Said we were probably going to see Disruptors in this series. It looks like Patience wants to at least queue up the first one. His Bay is on the way. He's getting the Forge But I don't think Stats wants this game to go there. He's going to pick off the Observer here, but that's less important than this in the main base. This is going to draw a lot of Patience's units back, which is when Stats is going to strike the front. These 3 Adepts coming in, not even close to enough. Good force fields here, but, you know, with the attack of the main base, can he defend both fronts? That's going to be the challenge. This is going to be a good start. DT defense actually a really nice idea. The Observer will have to go in the main if they want to, he wants to really complete this attack.
Those force fields were really just perfect. They're keeping Patience alive right now. And the DT eventually does clean this up, and the Warp Prism will get out of there. Looks like maybe he wants to drop and then pick up.
Yeah, only 1 DT, so he can just pick up the weakened Adepts, as you can see here. Very well played. So, this attack is actually held. Patience survives. Has now the lead in tech. He has the Disruptor tech, and he has Immortals. I believe he has 1 on the map. I'm like 1 off on my Immortal counts today. He has 2.
Yeah.
So, of course he had 2, because I said 1. The Disruptor is coming up. Finally can start that +1. Stats actually kind of in an awkward place in this game now in terms of tech. He has the lead in, he has a larger armory, he has the larger economy. Starts at 3rd base at about the same time as Patience, but how is he going to deal with the Disruptors? Blink Stalker is obviously going to be very good in the short term, and then the long term he'll need his own Disruptors.
Yeah, I think that's the plan, basically. Just wait a bit and then go into it eventually, just not yet. Seems like he wants to even commit to Dark Shrine tech of his own before he does commit to that. And this is really cute, just using that Warp Prism to save the Adepts before they do die. It's okay if they lose a bit of health.
That forward pylon, by the way, for Stats, the top right, is getting killed right now, so he's not going to be able to have the fast warp in for DTs. It was killed by a DT, so there's no way to defend.
Glad that Patience goes over there and checks that again, because with 3rd base so close, that would have been fantastic for reinforcing and just, you know, sending some harassment units over to the 3rd base.
It's kind of funny that there's just not a whole lot of anti-air for Patience, so this Prism is just doing so much work without any contention. Finally, he does work with a few Stalkers. The Dark Shrine here is not going to be, I think, really all too impactful. He has the Warp Prism, so he doesn't have to, you know, even though he lost that forward pylon, he could still use the Prism to warp in and drop. But we'll see if Patience has any answer. He has 3 Observer, no, only 1 Observer, which is following the Prism. 3 Observers for Stats on the map, so he's going to use that to blink in here with the main. Stalker Force coming in, looking for potentially rallied Disruptors.
The blink's on cooldown. Oh, it just gets off.
He's going to lose them anyways, though, now that they're trapped. He gets a Disruptor on his way out. You know what? He might get out with some of these. That's kind of crazy. Now he's got the range advantage on the attempts, trying to pick that off.
Stats is getting really cute in this game. And he's going to pick off here. But it's just, you know, him buying time to eventually go into those Disruptors. I want to see what his plans are for the DTs. He's warping them in right now. I tried to click them and failed. They're actually over there at the 3rd base.
There they come lifted now. And the Prism. He's got 4 of them. Where's the Observer? Can you check that again?
It's in the middle of the map. I'm trying to follow this army, actually. It's almost like he pressed the, you know, select all army hotkey and blinking in right now. Trying to take this fight is Patience.
He has the larger army. Actually forces the barrier off this Immortal. It's going to be taken out here. DT is dropped, right? Like, I want to see him. Okay, they're in the main base. They're in the main base. The DTs. Disruptor canceled here. Nice micro by Stats, but it's only going to buy him a little bit of time. The DTs need to do a lot. They are 15 kills, 16 as he splits them up. And actually, I think he might have pulled position on them in the natural. All this army is going to be destroyed. But
yeah, this is not what we want to see. We need to see these DTs.
Yeah, I think he actually held position on them and made them attack at the exact same time. Even having Adepts hit the 3rd base, he dropped out. Literally, Patience has 3 probes. And he only has the 1 Observer. Oh my god.
It just barely popped out too.
He needs to... I feel like he actually needs to continue to attack and just ignore the DTs. Because if he doesn't, he has nothing at home.
What he's deciding to do is go back and clean up the DTs and go from there. But he's 1 probe to 49.
Yeah, I mean, I've said he's got double the worker count, triple the worker count. I've even sometimes occasionally said quadruple the worker count, but I've never said he's 49 times the worker count.
Yeah, I don't recall a time that I've said that either. That's pretty insane.
I mean, now you multiply the worker count of patience by infinity, it's still not enough. It's not the same as what Stats has. He's got 0. The Stats, all he has to do is defend now. I feel like this attack could have been better even without detection earlier on. Okay.
Oh, man.
Good blink here from Stats. You see some buy time. He's got 2 more disruptors coming down. Just needs to defend.
Gets a disruptor, the only one in the army.
Also, he needs to be careful with his observers. If he loses his observers, he loses the game. Can't even afford anymore. He's going to blink in. This is actually still a close fight. Moves off the line.
Hit, though, was really, really fantastic. And another big warp in with the amount of money that Stats has. It is going to be enough.
Yep, that is going to be GG here in game number 1. Stats will take the lead.
Good composure there. A bit wonky of a game, was going back and forth there for a while, but that late Dark Shrine tech that we were questioning it a bit ended up being the choice. And if you remember early on in the game, he sniped the Observer before that fight happened, so maybe he was thinking in his mind, okay, he's going to be focusing on disruptors, trying to pump them out as much as possible, trying to, you know, not make Observers. And that's exactly what happened.
Well, 2 games tonight in Pros vs. Pros completely decided by the Dark Templar tech. Well, a very funky game there. I feel like Patience, honestly, I feel like he played the quote-unquote better game. He was massively behind, defended, teched up, held the attacks that were being thrown at him non-stop. Just didn't have the detection management to win the game. And, you know, Stats got away with this DT win this time. I don't know if he'll be so lucky again in the entire best of 3, as now we go into an even larger map, Frost. 2 back-to-back big maps, Frost, then Whirlwind. So we're going to be seeing late game again. We're going to see 3rd bases, potentially 4th bases going to the rest of these maps.
Yeah. Also a chance that Patience or Stats tries to do something wonky on these 4-player maps, really try to throw them for a loop. But let's jump into game number 2 right now on Frost. That was kind of scary, actually. That scared me a little bit.
Fan cheer?
Yeah. She was going real ham on that one. Down here, up here, in the top left, was Stats, the red Protoss.
Down here at the bottom left in blue is Patience, blue Protoss. Yeah, that voice is probably what my voice would sound like if I yelled right now, because I have cast 13 of the last 15 days. Casting everything right now, and voice is cracking a little bit. But,
do you have a cast tomorrow too?
No, I have a super secret recording. Can't tell you what it is yet, but
okay.
But at least I mostly have the day off tomorrow and Wednesday, but then I go back to Classic on Thursday. Got a big, busy schedule, Valdez, but there's a lot of esports going on in Korea right now, and someone's got to cast it.
Someone's got to take the reins, man. You're that nerd that grew up not on the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, man, I grew up in the woods, up in the house that
in the woods.
The house that was referred to by everyone in my middle and high school, they grew up as a big blue house. So we painted it green, and then it was then known as the big green house.
Did you guys paint it again after that?
No, we moved out actually. That it became an abandoned house that with all sorts of things in.
What color was the next house that you lived in?
It was actually destroyed to make room for
what? No, the next house that you lived in.
Oh, the next house. It was brick. It was red brick.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were talking about what happened to the next color. I was like, well, no, just after we abandoned it, it was destroyed and leveled, and now it's a subdivision. But that's the story.
We're learning a lot about Wolf's like early life on the cast today.
Yeah. Well, that probe survives, actually. Don't try this at home. Comes back in, brave as probe. He's like, I can sense whether it's stalkers or adepts. I'm like, no, you can't.
Well, he could if he stays long enough. He'll actually be so fast to even send the message back to his dad's Stats.
Well, I don't know if I'd call him his dad. I call him
kind of is. He created him.
He's a maker. Okay.
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah.
So most dads are makers. I think all of them are. in one way or another.
What if you're... Because being a dad and being a father are different.
That's true.
So if you just adopted a kid, you're not a maker necessarily unless you have another child.
That's true.
But you're a dad nonetheless. Where are we going with this?
I don't know.
Let's get back
I was
to
enjoying
the
it. You taught me a little bit today.
Well,
anyway,
the probe survives, and that's key. As we actually see, he does one follow-up scout. See if he can find the Nexus. He does not, but gets planted anyways. And we're going to see the Stalkers harass his Mothership Core. Just one shot.
Yeah. Look at the builds here from Stats. Early robotics facility for Nexus.
Probe actually comes back in here. It gets the follow-up scout on the Nexus. Will go down. Sad ending to this story, but gets a good amount of information. Ooh. He's actually going to do a disruptor drop. What?
On Frost.
Well, it better be a disruptor drop, but not a Colossus drop, where I am just going to walk out of the studio. Was it Classic who was doing that?
It was Stats, right? Bonnie Research Station?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was Stats, wasn't it? What if he does a Colossus drop?
I think it was Stats versus like Byung on Bonnie Research Station.
Well, back then, disruptors didn't exist, but I think this is still going to be... Oh, it's for fast observer speed. I should have known.
Oh, man.
Well, this actually times out pretty well. He's going to have the observer out right after the bait finishes. Couldn't afford a Colossus or Disruptor anyways. It's going to be the Disruptor. Queued up. It's really just kind of masochistically hoping for a Colossus drop, but it's just going to be the Disruptor.
Drops it on top of the Stalkers and the Warp Prism dies. Just GZ's out immediately. And Patience is already set up, kind of. Or he was. He's making his own Warp Prism. He's made 3 gates in total. This Oracle is fake.
He wants to draw overcharges, and in fact, he doesn't realize it's fake and uses 2.
Ooh. Looks like he's got enough for 1 more.
Stats is channeling his inner SOS. Now he's like, Patience is like, well, something weird's going on.
I'm just gonna go kill him.
Yeah, that's like the, I think it was Day 9 who said that. The Day 9 principle, and he's gonna take this route. Look, right now, Stats has literally nothing. He can't even send the Disruptor across because he has nothing to defend with. The Prism will dodge every shot, and Stats might literally be dead now.
Well, he needs the overcharges, and that Immortal that pops out will be key to holding this off. Has another Disruptor shot here in just a bit, too.
Good micro with this Prism, actually. Basically having fake blink. Even the sentries coming in and getting involved. They can elevate her up with the large pickup they have. Doesn't want to stick around here, though, when the Immortal gets the barrier. Let's micro it back. We'll see another Disruptor shot in a moment. Because not everything can fit in that Prism. I'm surprised he's not dropping it out right now. I'm going to pick it up. Look for a different angle. Good micro on the Immortal. If Patience actually overcommits here and loses everything, he loses the game too now. He's kind of stuck at a point of no return at this stage.
And that second Immortal is so key. It pops out. Disruptor shot zones for a bit.
I think Patience should try to elevate her out. I think that's his best option here. That's what we're going to see him slowly elevatering out. But Stats realizes this and is going to commit in. Only 4 Stalkers at a time can get out. He does get the majority out. I'm surprised we don't see more elevator tactics like this in professional play because it's so cool what you can actually do with the Prism. And now finally the late Disruptor drop is going to head across the map. It's kind of late.
Also the late Stargate coming out here. And Phoenix obviously going to shut down those Warp Prisms pretty handily. Coming on over, trying to get that shot. Actually does take out a couple of Stalkers, but this Warp Prism, a really rough spot. Stats on the chase now with his 2 Immortal buddies. Trying to save his Disruptor.
Blink on the way for Stats, actually. Maybe he wants to just attack, do kind of a timing here with his Blink Stalker Immortal. Even a Zealot. That's not supposed to get made in this matchup. That's not supposed to get made at all. I don't like seeing that.
Forgot that existed.
Like, get that Zealot out of here.
Very
David Kim retires and suddenly we got Zealots. What does it mean? Ooh, Observer gets sniped, actually. Or no, it doesn't. That was something else entirely. Never mind. My bad. I don't actually know what went down there.
Yeah, not sure what that was.
Maybe he had 2 Observers and I just missed one, but... Anyways, these sentries are...
Whoa! What are you doing?
They're going to hallucinate a bunch of probes to make stats think there's a hidden base over there.
That would be crazy.
That actually happened to me in the ladder game once. So a bunch of fake probes came across the map, and so I thought there was a base. I went to attack it, and I got caught in the middle of the map, lost everything. That was actually when I was good at StarCraft too. That was like when I was Masters on the Korean server. That happened to me.
You just inspired some new SOS guys to go out there and just do some crazy tricks.
Well, Warp Prism's speed to allow stats for some more crazy tricks. Sentry's come over here, eventually going to help secure this Nexus as the Phoenix transition is on, because he wants to deal with the Disruptors. He's taken the Phoenix approach, which we've seen a few times in this tournament already.
Yeah, I do like it. Even if there are a bunch of Stalkers, the second you pick up that Disruptor, it just nullifies it. You can drop it out, you can shoot it out again, but definitely one of the better answers. All the Stalkers, it's kind of hard to target fire the ones that are lifting the Disruptors, especially when it's a big head-on engagement.
Glaives coming up here for Patience. This is just two totally different approaches to the game now. Mass Adept Glaive with Phoenixes for the Disruptors versus Blink and Disruptor, the Neeb style. You know, after the Caspa Cup Neeb, I feel if you look at his stats in BlizzCon, was the best Pro versus Pros player in the world by a large margin. But that's the old style. Patience's style is the new one. Stats is looking to close this series out, but it's a very close game. It's just totally different compositions. When you look at what the armies are built of in terms of cost and how effective they are, it's really just two different approaches to the same solution. Very, very close in size of these armies. It's going to be all about the micro for Patience, though. He needs to lift that Disruptor.
He's a Disruptor lift, but also the Immortal lifts. Gets the Disruptor, immediately goes down. There are the Immortal lifts, but still two Immortals firing here, and I think Stats has more Stalkers with Blink. A very close fight so far.
Look at the Prism Micro as well. He has the Speed Prism, and he's just moving it around. Hooks up a lot of those Immortals, but a few more Rallying Immortals from Patience come in here. He just doesn't have the Stalker count, though, to back it up. And once those barriers fade, I feel like Stats could really outdo this. Although, more pickups here on the Immortals. Here's the Blink. Targeting down these Immortals. That one still had a barrier. And this is actually such a close fight here. I think this is going to end up being a win for Patience, though. The Phoenixes do win out for him. And that's a nice lead. Although this game does kind of reset. Stats has two Disruptors at home. He killed almost all of Patience's Immortals, so it just now is the harassment force lead with the Phoenix count.
Yeah.
And he also has the better Berker count.
The one thing you mentioned there is the Phoenixes, right? They lift, they do all the lifting in that fight, and then they survive. Generally in these fights, if the fight goes even and it ends, the Phoenixes more often than not survive, and they can regen their energy, regen their shields. I think only one Phoenix died so far. Another one is going to go down. Unfortunate positioning there for Patience.
Fellas, would you say the Phoenixes did the heavy lifting of that engagement?
Yes, they did. Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
Okay.
And actually, the heavy lifting in that fight, too. So, gotta hand it to them.
Blink's coming up here for Patience to kind of even that up. He's just making more and more Immortals. I think that this game is really going to be decided about Patience engaging around the Disruptors. If he gets a good fight, he can avoid the disruptions or the Purification Novas and target down the Disruptors, he wins. If he makes a mistake, that's how Stats wins this fight. Significantly down in army size. But also in Pros vs. Pros, when you get to this impasse in the game, if both players just kind of sit back and max out, doesn't matter how ahead Stats is, because 13 supply ahead is gone at the end of the game when you're both maxed out.
This is actually kind of entertaining to watch. Oh, we got two Colossi on the way.
He might drop them now, because he has Warp Prism speed.
Please, no. Don't do it. I know the StarCraft team is watching. They're like, yes, please do it. I'm like, no. I don't want to see you get wrecked. He's getting Thermal Land, so I think it's probably just going to be part of his army.
Yes. It's going to be a small window of time, actually, where this is going to be useful before Patience realizes. Now, I feel like if you look at the meta in PvP, like across since Wings of Liberty beta, we're almost going full circle. Immortals were like super broken, and you eventually were like, okay, well, I need to deal with the Immortals somehow, so Colossi outranged them. And now we're in the situation where, okay, he sees this.
Wow.
So now it's like, all right, you're going Mass Immortal, I'm going to go into the Colossi, outrange him, but Patience already has a Stargate, and can make a Fleet Beacon and then make Tempests to help deal with this. He's actually going to go into 2 more Colossi, so he's going to have 4 with range. He's going to have Glaives. Looks like this is going to be kind of like a timing attack for Stats, where he has this weird tech advantage.
Patience is building his own robotics bay here. And a Dark Shrine. Never forget about the Dark Shrine.
He used the blink early, so Stats is going to get a small lead in this fight. But yeah, go on. The Dark Shrine is important. It's 1 games of this tournament today, specifically 2 already.
You just never know in this matchup, especially once it goes to 3 base. Like, when is this guy going to drop a random Dark Shrine at this timing and just drop 3 DTs into my main? And if I don't have enough detection, I could be kind of boned. He only has 2 observers. Both of them do. But Patience has built cannons at his other bases, whereas Stats, I don't see any.
He doesn't have any.
Yeah.
Here comes the first DT. He's not going to get a big win with the mass DT. He's just going to harass a little bit, which is a small win, but a big win in the grand scheme of things with level loss mining here. The observer does show up now.
I like when the players have vision in the middle of the map and they wait for their opponents to move out and then they send them in, because it really messes with your opponents. Outside of just being a good timing, it's like, oh, well, do I go back? Do I try to warp in stuff? Do I have to move my observers? You're thinking about a lot of stuff when you have to defend against that kind of play.
Yeah, and his Stats actually had a timing attack he wanted to hit with +2 the Glaives and the Colossi, but he had to turn around because of the DT. And so it's just useful in that regard. You know, you might look at the results here and be like, I don't know, it wasn't worth it. He made a whole Dark Shrine, we killed a few probes, and only a little bit of lost mining time, but the bigger picture is the army moving back.
Yeah. Also, never forget Creator versus Zest, that one fight with all the Colossi where the observer was sniped and then all of a sudden Creator warped in rather, a bunch of DTs and won the fight against Colossi.
It's going to find some of the probes here in this probe depot over here. The Colossus attack is going to, well, he's just I don't know what to call it, probes done mining, but done mining. He's going to kill this photon cannon. He's going to hit a harder engage here. And actually, Stats, not only does he turn around, but he did not kill the base to the bottom right. He only left a few stalkers there, kills only 5 probes compared to the 14 Patience gets. The trade-off here, though, is Patience loses a huge chunk of stalkers. And now Stats can really just turn around and fight, as you can see here. He actually has 4 observers on the map now. So kills the entire mineral line of that 4th base. Clears his 3rd. Patience is actually even taking a 5th base right now. But Stats can attack with this army, I feel like. He just needs to be decisive, which he is being the opposite of right now. He's just kind of sitting here.
Yeah, he's like, okay, everybody regroup. We need to have a couple of board meetings before we decide the next decision here for the Protoss army.
Yeah. Stats, you're the top shareholder. Let's go. He's going to get 2 more disruptors. You have to really feel like he must attack. I mean, just looking at this, yeah, he's going to move across with these disruptors, but he knows that he's behind in workers. He also has seen a 4th base. He doesn't even have one, so he has to attack. Just so indecisive here. Every second this 1 stalker buys is huge for Patience as he catches up an army supply. Stats needs to hit, and needs to hit hard.
He's going for the 4th base, it looks like, but that's so far away. Now he's met some units in the middle of the map, so kind of deciding to fight against that. Patience almost kind of toying with Stats, like, hey, follow these units. Let me buy some more time.
Snipes the observer, which is important. He still has 3 more, but they have to be with the army for that to matter. DT is actually going to come in here. He might kill the disruptors. Nope, just going to go right into the mineral line. There's a cannon, which will be targeted down promptly. And it's going to be a lot of lost workers here. 23 do go down for Patience as he loses his 4th. This game is getting crazy real fast. I'd like to see him even target just this robo down. Slow down some of the disruptor production. Slow down the observer production even. These adepts are sitting ducks. Okay, here we go. He's going to hit this 3rd base.
This is one of his only mining bases right now. That's a lot of probes. He's only got 35 Patience right now, and his army's not in position. He's actually over at Stats' base.
Oh, the probes! The humanity! Oh! This is a base trade now. We're in full swing, and DT is one of the most important units to have in a base trade. Stats has no Dark Shrine.
Stats is making disruptors in his main if he could get some lucky shots.
It's like he's forgotten about these adepts.
Oh, that 1 disruptor.
Picked off, though. High ground vision maintained.
The other one.
Nova does get 2 of those stalkers.
These disruptors are being held hostage in the main right now.
Patience should theoretically have his own disruptors at home, though, that he's also creating right now. He has that remade 5th base, which actually I don't think Stats has seen. He's just going to attack the natural straight up.
We're seeing the disruptor fight here.
Colossi can siege this really well, so he's just going to try to poke it down. He sees the base now, and he's, oh, coming back. He's going to see this. Needs to be very careful. The Phoenixes.
What?
You forgot about those. Side character makes a return here.
Look at the surround he's kind of got. The disruptors, though, have to attack. Okay, 2 for free. The lifts here by the Phoenix is not doing much, but not too much anti-air for Stats.
It's funny that I have to say this, but critically Stats did get the +1 armor for his Colossi, which actually does a lot against Phoenixes because they attack twice, so it's applied multiple times. That's really helpful for the Colossi.
Nexus up in the top right.
He remembers the Adepts now.
Yeah. Gets those together, and crucially, they're in perfect position to get to that base that's mining.
Yep, killing a few probes here already.
He only brought in 2, but it's a nice bit of damage.
Stats hides the base to the top right. This is going to be something that Patience is not going to probably scout the entirety of this game. Stats has the larger army, and he's just going to transition back here. He has the better probe count.
Yeah.
The scariest thing was if his army got caught and he couldn't get out, which now what's happening. He just needs to escape here. Fighting here, this is just unnecessary. Even if he loses another disruptor, the Phoenixes, I feel like it's worth it to just get out. If he loses this fight, well, he's not having his entire army together, that's miserable for him. Is DT actually still alive in the Warp Prism? But now he has his army regrouped. The Colossi are going to be so helpful in this situation because of their superior range.
Colossi are actually huge against those disruptors too. Pretty clunky, it's hard to hit multiple. And
this is really cool. I mean, I'm not saying that we're going to see like the return of the Colossi to the meta or anything like that, but just to see this non-meta unit in PvP come back the way old PvP was.
Sniped a Phoenix with a lot of energy.
Yeah, every snipe counts right now with a super low economy game, especially for Patience, only 14 Harvesters. Ooh. Gets a Disruptor too, that's even more critical.
Yeah, every unit matters. And it's so funny where Patience's army is right now. It's so close to the Nexus up in the top right, but
I think
Stats is kind of in the middle, you know?
Patience incorrectly assumes, as the observer just shows, that there is no base. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to start hitting your main, and I'm mining and you're not. But the reality is Stats is not only mining, but mining better. He's going to have, I believe...
all of his production is in the main, but he can warp in elsewhere.
Patience should have some disruptors coming out at home. Actually, no, he doesn't have any at all, because he doesn't have the money to produce them right now. So... gonna lose this base. Just keeps all of his probes alive.
Nexus for Nexus right now is really
Stalker
good.
finds it though.
Okay, that's really big.
She gets trapped, but this is gonna be the clash that decides everything. Oh, Stats is just gonna go for the main. He's gonna let this base go. This is a really interesting decision by Stats. I feel like if he had turned around to try to stop this and catch this army, he kills it and wins the game. But because he's doing this instead, there's a chance that something goes horribly wrong for him. He still has the larger army.
Yeah, he's got the larger army, and more importantly, he has a ton of minerals and 2 probes that are outside of the space. I just checked, there are 2 probes in Stats' main, so he can get them out, and it looks like that's exactly what's happening right now. So he can save them. He's going to kill Patience's entire base. Even if he loses this, he will be okay. He's making a Nexus over here at the 3rd, even. Maybe the place where Patience would expect it the least.
There's 1 DT. 3 observers for Stats, and there's a probe in the behind the mineral line. I think there's actually 3 probes behind the mineral line for Patience that Stats is not killing right now, and he has the rest of the probes with his army. Stats also, which the observer isn't showing, but I just looked around the minimap, he's checked all the bases, so he knows that Patience does not have a hidden base, and he knows that he has one up, so why stay in the main base and risk a fight he could potentially lose, when he could just take a defensive engagement at his own Nexus, which will eventually be mining. It's going to be the winning moment for Stats. Patience has to kill this army somehow.
Yeah.
He needs lucky disruptor shots, or somehow he needs to get the Immortals on top of the Colossi. Just feels impossible virtually here, though, with these the Colossi that have range.
Yeah, now he doesn't want to fight. What an awkward spot. He has to, but he doesn't want to. He's kind of on the run now. Trying to zone it out. A good disruptor hit takes out a Colossus.
He gets a few more of these. He can find his way back into the game. It's exactly what he needs. He has 0 minerals, so he will never have another Nexus unless he can long distance mine back to his main base. There's that dead 0 with the probes he has left, 11 of them. And actually, the probes are no longer with this army. Looks like they're hiding to the bottom right.
wants that Nexus so badly. Stats, you got to spread your disruptors. Big hit.
Stats should just be leading the disruptor shots here because they have finite range. He should just stagger his shots and split, and there's no way he loses this army. The Immortals are now super low. I think Stats could just hard engage this and take the win.
Looks like he wants to. That disruptor, though, you got to be so careful.
Okay, another beautiful shot here for Stats. The Colossi just going to do so much damage now. GG.
Wow.
What a great best of 3 played by Stats. Very well played. Technical build in game number 1, and then in game number 2, we're just, I mean, absolute understanding of the matchup, understanding the mass immortals coming out of his opponent, going to the Colossus tech, which really won him that game. Had some trouble against the DTs, but that was a very well-played PvP.
Yeah, and a really fun game, too, as well. That was really enjoyable to watch, just to see the way that the players were playing and the hidden Nexi, just the positioning of the armies and stuff. Those are the games that are fun to play on the ladder, but also the ones that are very fun to watch. And Stats, with that win, takes the 2-0 over Patience, the guy who was in 2nd place, but now will fall just a little bit as Stats begins to finally find some more success here in SSL. Goes to 3-3 for set wins.
He needs more, though. He doesn't want to just avoid relegation. He wants to get to the playoffs. And he has, with this win, gotten one step closer, but it was one of the toughest wins to take, obviously, against such a great player like Patience, who was number 2. So these points are more valuable, actually. Even though it's a 2-0 is really important as well. So these points are super valuable for getting him towards the playoff. That's that for that series, man. I hope we get to see more PvPs like that one, and I hope that Colossi make somewhat more of a return to the meta, because that was fun to watch, and obviously, selfishly, really fun to cast from my perspective.
Yeah, it was really cool. Guys, we're going to take a 2-minute break. When we come back, the final best of 3 of the night, it will be Maru versus Dark.